Thank you for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Some people believe that a salesperson is born, not made, while others believe a salesperson is made and not born. Leaving us with the question, are some people psychologically predisposed to be better at selling? Or can anyone with the proper training and motivation become a high-performing sales professional? It's an interesting question that deserves to be explored. So pull on your Blaze Orange and grab your shotguns as Scott and I welcome author and sales leader Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, to episode 603 of the Winning at Selling podcast.
Wow, episode 603. That's incredible. Man.
We've been doing it a long time, Mark, and we're really looking forward to having a discussion with you. We were doing the warm-up in the green room and having a dynamic conversation, and we said, stop. This is part of the show. Let's save it for the show. So before we get into the conversation with Mark, the Sales Hunter, just an announcement, no book club for today. Next week, we're going to start a new book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And we're going to cover the introduction and chapter 1. So look for that book. You'll see that it's very popular. I've seen it on Facebook numerous times, and we're going to be doing the introduction and chapter 1 of that. So be prepared for next week to talk about that.
All right. And speaking of introductions, let me introduce Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. He's recognized as a top influential sales and marketing leader. He's also the author of A Mind for Sales, High Profit Prospecting, and High Profit Selling. Mark helps companies identify better prospects, close more sales, and profitably build more long-term customer relationships. Since 1998, Mark has conducted thousands of training programs and keynotes on sales, prospecting, and sales leadership. He shows organization and salespeople in detail what it takes to set themselves apart as a top sales leader in their field. Mark, welcome to the Winning at Selling podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Hey, episode 603, I'm still kind of amazed. That's awesome.
Well,
nice job.
Yeah, Bill and I have been doing it nonstop since 2020, April 2020. And we picked it up from another guy, Steve Kloida, who you may remember back in the day.
I remember, yes.
Expert. So we took over the show when he passed away, and Bill and I have been going every single week. And you do a podcast too, Mark, the Sales Hunter podcast. I encourage everybody to check that out as well. And
we'll link to that in our show notes.
Yeah. So people will be able to see that. But
all right. Well, Mark, tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you become the Sales Hunter?
Well, you know what's funny is I was born with the last name Hunter, so I guess you might as well use it, right? I mean,
exactly.
You know what's funny is I have trademarked the Sales Hunter, and people will ask me, what was your last name before Hunter? And I go, no, that was it. So, I mean, so does that mean that I'm a born salesman? Born salesperson? No. I just had a really cool name. Okay.
There you go.
And because I'll tell you what, going back to your intro that you were talking about, I don't believe salespeople are born. I really don't. I mean, the only caveats, the only requirements to be successful in sales is the ability to listen and communicate. That's it. That's it. Mm-hmm. And when you tie those together, you have a level of curiosity. And when you tie together when you have the curiosity, then you have this mindset of how can I help? That's what sales is. That is all sales. Salespeople, and especially people outside of sales, read too much into what sales is. They think it's this slimy thing and no, it's just listening. It's just listening and helping the customers. I struggled initially in sales because I had the wrong attitude, because I was viewing customers as if they were bowling pins. And it was my job to knock them down, take their money and run.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I began shifting my attitude that really began to understand. It's just helping people. It's just having a conversation. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
So your mind for sales then is be a good listener and have a mind for serving customers rather than taking advantage of them.
Yes, that's it. There's a theme that runs through the book, and let me share what that theme is. And it's if you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. we were talking in the mythical green room before the show, how salespeople are afraid to pick up the phone and so forth. And I firmly believe this: if you know you can help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Let me give you a quick example. I've got a lot of problems in my life. Trust me, talk to my kids. They know I have a lot of problems. And Scott, if you had the ability to help, I would want you to reach out to me. Now, if you did not reach out to me, and somewhere down the road I found out that you could have helped me, I would have been pretty upset. I'd be upset at you. You see, we owe it to our customers. We owe it to our prospects. We owe it to our leads. If they fit the profile of who we can help and we know we can help them, we owe it to them to reach out to them. That think about that. That should immediately begin changing your attitude about that next phone call.
So another mindset, right?
It is 100% mindset, because here's the whole thing. And I see this so often. And I was talking to a gentleman this morning, VP of sales, major company on the East Coast. And he made the comment, he said, I have so many salespeople that just are hesitant to pick up the phone, pick up the phone call and so forth. And I made the comment, I said, it's the attitude you have going into that phone call predetermines the results you're going to get coming out of it. I mean, if I go into this phone call, there's nothing here, there's nothing happening, or I'm making a live sales call, whatever it might be, and you believe there's nothing will happen. But if you go in with an expectation that something could happen, it's amazing how much better you listen. It's amazing the better questions you ask. This is why, I mean, you can't survive as a salesperson and be a pessimist. You can't. It is impossible. And the more of an optimist you are, the greater your success. You see, it is mindset, 100%.
And I think too, especially with prospecting, you can't get devastated. You've really got to keep your mood good or bad. Hey, you want to talk to me? Great. Hey, you don't want to talk to me? Great. You want to talk to me? Great. Right. And we just keep moving through. And when the ones who want to engage, then we have a good engaged conversation, and then we have to do the next one.
You know what? It's so often. How many times have we heard from a salesperson? I mean, we've had it. You call somebody and they jump. Why are you calling me? Yada 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 yada. And I go, you know what? It is no different than you or I driving a car down the road. The light is green in the intersection. We proceed through the intersection, and a car coming on the cross street runs the red light and T-bones you. Now, okay, hold it. You're in the right. You just happen to be in the wrong place. It's just the way it is. And you don't know what was going on in that person's mind. You don't know what was going on. Maybe they were on their phone. Maybe they were doing. Who knows? But it is, and that's the way you have to look at phone calls. I mean, again, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the situation is this. Think about any sporting event. We'll go and use the Super Bowl as an example. Super Bowl, there's a final score, something the Minnesota Vikings have, they've played in, but they've never won. Okay, I'm sorry. This
and recently we don't even get close.
This podcast just ended, right?
Our listeners are dropping off.
I like this guy at first, but I'm not sure
anyway,
now.
but no more. Anyway, but remember, I live in Dallas. We haven't been there in 28 years either. So, okay. Now I forget what I was talking. No, okay. There's points on the scoreboard, but the points on the scoreboard are kind of like our closed deals. If you think about that, those are deals are closed. But you don't put points on the board without running plays on the field. You don't get closed deals until you first make the phone calls, until you first do the actions. And now if you stop and think about that, all those plays that they ran on the field are a result of all the time they spend practicing, which is, again, the same thing we do as salespeople. Well, we're listening to podcasts, we're reading books, we're dialoguing with other people, we're attending training sessions, we're doing various things. Why? Because we're learning how to run our plays better to make them more effective, be able to put more points on the scoreboard. So as salespeople, we can't run away from the activities, because especially early on for salespeople, and I tell this to anybody, what are the activities you're doing? This is a little bit of a repetition game. I really, consistency wins the game, wins the day in and day out. It always does. And I always tell salespeople, what's your number? What's your number? Now, what do I mean by number? What are the number of phone calls, the number of touches you have to make a day to keep your pipeline full?
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot deviate from that number. Well, I haven't been able to prospect the last couple of weeks because I've been doing too many other things. Hold it. Guess what? You're not going to have anything in your pipeline here in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be prospecting daily.
Yeah, I had a boss once who said you got to do the 20% that you don't like so you can do the 80% that you love. And
I
I think
like that.
I think for most salespeople, they like to be in with a customer. They like to have the conversation. They like to it's kind of, that's the game day, right? But if we don't make those appointments, we can't have all that fun. They're not going to call you and beg you to have an appointment with them. So as you say, you got to reach out. But sometimes it's just something that you don't particularly like, but you got to do it.
You got it. And it starts with knowing your number. And when you know your number and you stay absolutely focused on it, and you wake up in the morning and say, these are the touches I'm going to do. This is it. And you don't end the day without knowing exactly who you're going to reach out to tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
For me in my business, it's five touches a day. I know that if I do 5 touches a day, life is good. Life is good.
Mm-hmm.
You might have 2, you might have 10, you might have 30. Again, it just, for me, it's 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I know if I do that every day, it works.
Yeah, and I think that's more important. I remember Mark LeBlanc was at a PSA. I know you've done some PSA work for us in the past. He said 3 a day. 3 a day is better than 10 one day and nothing for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just do something, a few of them every day, and then maybe you're up to 4 or up to 5. But don't start with 100.
Right.
Because you just won't do it. And don't go back and say, I'm going to pick up. Oh, I didn't do 5 today, so I'll do 10 tomorrow. Then I got to do 15 on Wednesday. Then 5 a day, 5 a day, 5, whatever that number is, make those calls, see what happens.
And I'll tell you what, Mark LeBlanc is brilliant. I just spent the weekend with him a few weeks ago, and he has this belief of, are you focused on your endables or the repeatables? He doesn't quite use those terms, but the idea is that are you focused on, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, or the repeatables, your prospecting calls. What's the stuff you need to repeat every day? Mm-hmm. Every morning I start the day by working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non-negotiable.
Right.
There seems to be a lot of sports analogies with sales. And when you talk about a scoreboard, I think about first downs as activities. So how many first downs did you get? I mean, you're just moving the ball down the field, another first down, another first down, another first down. The movie Moneyball is, get on base, get on base, get on base. And with salespeople, it starts with picking up the phone and having a conversation. I always say, every sale begins with a conversation. Let's just have a conversation and see if there's a possibility of having a sale. But the mindset that salespeople have to have is an outlook of possibilities and not limitations. And too often, like you said, they look for a problem before they even start.
Mm-hmm.
But in looking at those high value activities, how do you organize your day? What are the best techniques on organizing your day, Mark, that you can share with our listeners?
Sure. I mean, best thing starts off like today. I mean, I've already, you're my 3rd event already today.
Wow.
But I've got my 5 prospecting touches that I'll be doing, and I'll get one of them done right when we get done here before I go into my next meeting. But I've got 5 touches. I've also got 2 clients that I'm closing deals on today. I mean, these are closing calls today.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got those, but I block my day. This is what's absolutely essential, that you block your day. And what I mean block your day, I love having meetings with myself. If you were to look at my calendar, you'd say I got an hour block here, an hour block. That's why I'm just focused on this. And there's something about when I say that I'm going to get this done in this 1 hour period, I get it done. I get it done because I don't have time to allow it to slop over. It's so easy to sit there. Well, I don't have anything on my calendar, so let me scroll through LinkedIn. Let me scroll through this. And okay, I'm busy, but I'm not productive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm busy, but I'm not. And that's key, because you have to ask yourself. I always tell people this: your time needs to be spent on one of 2 things: R or G, revenue or goals. Mm-hmm. If you're not creating revenue, why are you doing it? And if it's not helping you achieve one of your goals, why are you doing it? Mm-hmm. And so much of what we do is neither of those. Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why we fall short. But, there's something else that you have to do. And that is, you have to be willing to be held accountable. And I always say, well, people say, well, I'm accountable to my boss. If I don't do my job, I get fired. I know, but you know what? Chances are your boss isn't giving you enough time. This is why I say you've got to have a peer. You've got to have. I was on the phone this morning from 6 to 7 a.m. with this VP of sales from the East Coast. He's not a client of mine. He's more just a peer, and we just collaborate together. But you've got to be careful of who you surround yourself with. That's why I love your organization, because when you hang out with successful people, it's amazing what can happen. Our moms were right when they said, be careful of who you play with on the playground.
Right.
Yeah, we only give that advice for our kids. We don't want to take it ourselves.
Yes.
So
Why is that? Because what happens is when you hang around really successful people, it's amazing how it just elevates your game. It just simply elevates your game.
And they elevate you.
Yes.
I mean, they talk to you in positive, thoughtful ways. So
I don't have time to hang around with negative people.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good part of organizing your day. You talked about.
Oh, I thought you were saying this podcast is over now because
no.
somebody. Okay.
Okay. All right. So time blocking, that's key. Do you do a daily task list?
Yes, that's all part of my time blocking.
Yeah.
In other words, I allocate time. This is what's going to happen.
And these are the things I want to accomplish today.
These are the things I'm going to accomplish, and I do that because these are my annual goals. Everything I do fits into my annual goals, and this is so key because again, it's not just getting stuff done; it's getting the right stuff done. So I've got my annual goals, and how is this going to help me achieve my annual goals?
So the vision is the annual goals, then feed into the daily task, then feed into where I'm going to put those in my block day.
I'm going to back up a little bit. That the vision is like, my vision is to influence and impact people, help them see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. So then I have my annual goals. So my annual goals are kind of like the points I want to put on the scoreboard. So this is the amount of revenue I want to achieve. These are the number of events I want to do. And then I said, okay, now what are the activities I've got to do to achieve that?
Right.
So then what's the preparation I got to do so that then I can literally come downstream? And it really comes down to you got to make the calls. You got to be prospecting. And the key thing with prospecting also, this is what's so interesting. It's repetition. It's following up. This is why I love, Scott, what you said earlier. It's not making 100 calls, or what Mark LeBlanc said. You're not going to go about me, because you can't. Don't start what you can't finish.
Right.
I've got people who I reach out to who I have been reaching out to for years, literally years. Wow. And I'll land them. I'll get them. And you know what? It doesn't distress me. Yeah, I'd like to close them, but I keep dripping on them, keep giving them value, keep. And it's not like, oh, here's my marketing email. No. These are touches. It's a voicemail. It's a phone call. It's an email. But
another good line that I heard from Mark is, if you can take a call, you can make a call. And every salesperson that I've ever worked with, I said, if the phone rang right now, would you be able to pick it up, answer it, and have a conversation with a prospect? And they'd go, well, yeah. I go, okay, then you can make a call. Have a prospect pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. It's that simple. And that's where it really dispels any of that conceptual barriers of fear of cold calling. Is if you can make a call, or you can take a call, you can make a call. And that's just so difficult for people to remember.
It is. And have you ever seen a headline where a person making a sales call was maimed or lost an arm?
Nobody died making cold calls.
Nobody died.
There was that one guy.
It's just right. For some reason, I don't want to disturb them. I don't want to bug them.
Oh, they're busy. It's Monday.
I don't want to take a no.
Monday.
Oh, Friday, they're taking a day off.
I just don't want to take a no. That's it. I don't want to, I think some of it is, I know I'm going to make 20 calls and hopefully get a hold of one person.
Right.
Right. But you're still doing the activity. It's stirring the pot. It's creating action.
I got to share with you something funny. I had a gentleman who would send me a text message and call probably every other week for probably two years. I never ever returned a phone call. Never, ever, never responded to his text. But every couple of weeks he'd text me or he'd call me, leave me a voicemail. And finally one day I'm sitting here having a meeting with my team, and we needed some stuff. And his company was the one that could provide it. Guess who I called? That guy.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
Exactly.
And if he had not stayed in touch with me, and yet he didn't know, he probably, oh, no, he's not responding. Well, I just didn't need it. But it just keep that. Yeah, we've got to stay in front of our customers. We've got to stay in front of our, because again, this guy knew he could help me.
Right.
But unfortunately, the timing in my business just wasn't right. And then it was like, now it's right. Let's do it. Yeah.
Didn't have the need then, but when you did, he was there.
Yes.
That's right.
So don't think for a moment that what you do doesn't work.
So speaking of that frustration where we feel things don't work, we lose sales, we can't make the phone calls. What's your advice for someone to stay motivated when things are getting hard?
Well, yeah, here's a couple easy things to do. Listen to this podcast. No, it's okay. Yeah, well, I mean, listen.
Well, I think that's the right advice right there.
Yeah, that's given. Okay. Make a list and draw a line down, take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, write down 10 of your favorite customers, 10 of your favorite customers. And then on the right-hand side, write down the outcome that you helped them achieve, not what you sold them, but the outcome. And you look at that list and you go, give yourself a hug.
Yeah.
Give yourself a hug.
I thought you were going to do the Ben Franklin close on me there for a minute.
Yeah. Because you've made an impact on people.
Yeah.
And you sit there and say, you know what I'm doing is good work. This is absolutely terrific. Second, focus on the activity, not the result. This is especially for new salespeople. Well, I didn't close any sales last month. I know, but you know what? Got to put the activity in. Got to put the activity in. I'll give you a quick example. I've never run a marathon in my life. Several times I've set out and it's fallen off the agenda. This year, January 1, I said, I'm going to run 1,000 miles this year. I'm going to run 1,000 miles. No. I can do it. I can run 1,000 miles. And you know what's funny is I began, get out, run 2-3 miles. Wait a minute. I could do a marathon. Yeah, not today, but this fall. This fall, I'll be able to do a marathon. I know I'll be able to. You see, because I'm focused not on the result that depresses me, because I got too stressed out several years. I literally just got too stressed that got to train for this marathon. But just doing the activity, getting out, running a couple of miles, 2-3 miles, and slowly building your pace. And it's funny, but I just had an injury. I was actually accelerating my running too fast. Not too fast, but too many miles. And I really stretched my calf. And I had to back off running for a week. But you know what's interesting is that I'm just getting back in now. I'm a little bit behind. But you know what? I can do it. I know I can do it. I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So it's focus on the activity. You'll have setbacks. Like I had a problem with my calf. I mean, it was just tight. It was so tight. I had a hard time standing up. But you do exercises. You got to take care of, and so you can overcome them. And then you just stay consistent. And
I think the thing is, you're not trying to run 1,000 miles in a day.
No,
you just do a little bit every day. It's the Atomic Habits.
Yes, thank you. That's
wonderful book. And you've just got to do it. Don't look at a year's worth of dishes. Just do your dishes every day. But if you let them go for a week, it's a drudgery. It's a terrible thing. It's a 2-hour project. It's doing the stuff a little bit every day.
And this is why people don't use their CRMs, their CRM system, because, I'm so far behind. Well, if you just did a little bit every day, it'd be amazing at how that tool would absolutely work for you.
Like at the end of the appointment.
Yeah, bingo, ding, 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 ding. You win the prize.
That's right.
Now we move on to bonus round. Yes.
All right. Well, we're getting down to the last 5 minutes or so that we're going to have together. So So what's some pearls of wisdom that you'd like to leave with sales professionals? How can we get better? How can we stay more focused? Do those things every day.
You know, the key is you wake up every morning, and I want you to wake up every morning and be thankful for the privilege you have of being able to impact other people. Now, other people you may be reaching out to, they don't know you. Again, I'm not going to blow anybody. I'm not going to blame anybody if I call them and who are you? I know you don't know. But I'm going to take you through a series of steps through my sales process that is eventually going to have you saying, whoa. Because here's the whole thing. It comes back to what I said at the beginning. If you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. And the ultimate goal is what I said is in my vision, to help others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. If you tie those two pieces together and ask yourself a couple questions, what am I going to learn today? What will I learn today? And who will I connect with that is going to help me? So many times what happens is we have sales calls, we have meetings that don't go anywhere, but they do go a long ways because it's in our head.
Right.
And many times it's a negative voice, which means we got to be careful who we hang out with. If you don't have, I have 4 other people I'm in a mastermind group with, and we are texting continuously back and forth. What does it do? It elevates us. It elevates us. Yeah. Sales is fun. Sales is fun.
One of my closing questions when we have a guest on, Mark, is to really learn about what book or what author or what, what person had the greatest impact on you growing up and picking the career that you're in right now. Is there a book? Is there a person? Is there an author that had the greatest impact on you?
Well, the biggest thing that changed my career was the police department.
How so?
Yeah. I got too many speeding tickets when I was in college.
Okay, there's another story there.
Hey, it's in the first or second chapter of my book, A Mind for Sales. What happened was I didn't want to go into sales. I had no desire to go into sales, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I got so many speeding tickets that I couldn't afford car insurance.
Wow.
So I had to find a job that supplied me with a company car. That is how I wound up in sales. I mean, it dispels this whole myth that you're a born salesperson. No, believe me, I was so good at it, I got fired from my first 2 sales jobs, but dang, that Buick was good. Oh.
That's great. That's great.
So yeah, that's probably what had, but you know what? I mean, I read probably 30, 40, 50 books a year, at least.
Okay.
Because you just can't, I've got a whole stack of books here on the floor I got to get through. If I say James Clear, Atomic Habits. I mean, game-changing book. Grab it, read it. That's probably the book I recommend the most. And a good gentleman right there in the Minneapolis area, Harvey McKay.
Yes.
I kid Harvey. I said, Harvey, I have sold more of your books, Swim with the Sharks. Yeah, that's almost 40 years old now.
And Beware the Naked Man.
It is.
I've sold more of your books than I have of mine. Harvey, what are you going to do for me? And he says nothing. And he says nothing. That's classic Harvey.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the famous quotes from Harvey that I learned is, if you think you're unreplaceable, stick your finger in a bowl of water, pull it out, and notice the hole that it leaves.
Yeah. How could somebody fire the sales hunter? I guess you weren't the sales hunter yet.
I wasn't the sales hunter then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I got to tell you something funny. The research behind that, unbelievable research we did. I met a gentleman and he said, you got to use the name Hunter. That is just too good. It's just a great name.
Right.
And so we went out and did a domain name search, and saleshunter.com was taken. So we put a the in front of it, and boom, that was it. Right. That was the extent of our market research, and it's worked out very well.
Cool.
Nobody has ever asked me, what was your last name before Plum, Mark? So so I go with Professor Plum. It works for me too.
There you go. Right. Hey, why not? Was it in the...
And Hell Camp doesn't help people evoke positive images of training sessions, so I can't use that one.
No, I was with a lady over the weekend with the last name of Swindling, and she was an attorney. before she left that profession. So yeah, that's just, think about that one. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark, for being with us. We've got some resources that we'll have on our show notes. So again, episode 603, and we're going to have a link to Mark's website. We're going to have a link to his podcast, and highly encourage you to check it out and listen to a couple of episodes and subscribe.
Yeah, 25 minutes with Mark is not enough. And
It's
so
not.
you can get a lot more by going to his podcast, the Sales Hunter Podcast. So
Our golden nugget for the day is: a man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid more than he does, by Napoleon Hill. And I think that that's kind of a combination of our topic today. If you have the ability, you have the responsibility. And it's a little bit of an overlap from the Go Giver book that we just finished with the first law.
yeah, super. Great quote. For all this information, the show notes, links to Mark's podcast, go to winningatselling.com.
And again, reminder, our book, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and we're going to do the introduction and chapter 1. And our topic next week is going to be referrals, asking, giving, and receiving. So please subscribe and share this podcast with your colleagues and on social media.
Go out and get better, one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.